Hello, listener, and you're welcome back to another episode of Evie Unbounded. As always, I'm your loving host, Evie Jane, and this is my podcast about showcasing individuals who are breaking down barrier. We are real and unbounded in this space. Today's guest is a recognized expert in public and nonprofit service. Her passion lies in helping increase participation of elected and career professionals in government do leadership and professional development programs. She began her career working in the California State Legislature for former Assembly member Judy Chu. Hi, Annie. How are you?
Good. So good to see you.
Well, I am so happy I finally get to, connect with you. And I know you've been super busy as a mom also. How is your little daughter, Vienna, right? Vienna.
Yeah, Vienna. No, she's great. She's great. She's a lot of fun, learning a lot. She's turning 3 next month. I can't believe it. It goes by fast. You know?
I don't know how you do it because I know you're an amazing wife, a mother, and you're also a career woman. This is the reason why we wanted to have you on the show and kind of wanted to see what's the tip that you can have to other women, how we can balance our life like you, how you do this. So, no, I'm serious. Well, let's start talk about your upbringing and building up your journey and how you achieved the success in your career currently. I mean, how you even decide to get into politics and now in consulting firm. How this is the story. What's your story?
Yeah, well, I think it's been very organic. I always like to kind of go back to the roots. My parents, they have major influenced in me in terms of who I am and the work that I do. And very strong parents. I think in reflection now, thinking back, I just never really thought about how much they have influenced my thinking, my life, and all of that. My mom is the type of person who always stand up for what's right. And she's like the protector, defender of the family, right? And sort of like the head of the household, although she will always say it's my dad, it's like, oh, check with your dad. But, who calls the shots, right? My mom calls the shots. And I just kind of grew up, hearing a lot of stories from my mom of how she does a lot for her friends, standing up for what's she thought was right and all of that. And it kind of builds up, I think, growing up. And that's always been instilled in me. And then my dad on the other side, he is super curious, a learner.
Wow.
He's just skillful. Like he can fix so many things. He's a mechanic, a chef, a cosmetologist.
Oh my gosh.
Fruit cultivator, businessman. So he's all of that. It's crazy and it's amazing. So, and I think it really stems from him wanting to learn, very curious. And I have that in me. Always curious to learn, always trying to grow, learn and figure out, what don't I know? And what do I want to learn? And so I got that from my dad. And so, they gave up everything, in Vietnam, during the late 70s to escape war and persecution, and took a huge leap, right? And it's literally hop on a boat where it was super flimsy. I was recounting the story with my mom, and she was telling me that they have to make a decision to leave or not. I mean, after hearing and seeing friends who didn't make it right on to escape from boat, many of them drowned. And so they hop on the boat and they have to bring it back to shore several times because there were water that was leaking in the boat. Wow. And so they would bring it back, literally patch back up like 3 to 4 times. I mean, just envisioning putting myself in that situation is like, whoa.
Were you born then or did it?
Me, not yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was my mom, my dad, my grandfather, my oldest brother, my sister, and my mom just gave birth. This is probably 1 month or 2 month old infant with her. And so you have to make the decision, right? It's am I going to leave or should we stay? And so, they went through all of that process and then they made it. And, they went to Hong Kong, the refugee camp. Mm-hmm. And then my aunt sponsored them here and they have to create a whole new life.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
new life here in the United States, in California. My aunt sponsored them to Sacramento, and so that's how I ended
Oh,
up.
so you were actually from Sacramento, right?
Yes, born and raised.
Okay. Oh,
Born and raised.
wow. Okay. Wait, is that how you got into politics in some way? Because, the capital of the California. I'm just wondering. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I got started in politics. I think
Hmm.
it all clicked for me in college. Um, but I think it's also kind of all built up within me, sort of my childhood experience and all of that. I've always wanted to learn my rights growing up, having to translate for my parents, just navigating the system, right? From getting the Medi-Cal to
Oh,
filling out 10 or 13 pages of application process. I think I remember one time when my dad needed care, but then the Medi-Cal lapsed because he didn't submit his application. It's a very strenuous process. I mean, even for myself, it was like 10 pages, right?
hmm.
And so I called the lady and she's like, "Oh no, you forgot to send this page." And I told her, I was like, "Whoa." So my dad cannot get care.
Because,
It's going to impact his health because you're telling me that he forgot to send in that one pager. I was like, "Well, you should sit on that. His life will be impacted." And so
good
she
one.
called me the next day. She called me the next day and say, "Hey, I got it taken care of."
Oh, good for you. And
So
I
I
like, no,
constantly,
but I like the way you kind of impose like the
yeah,
question to her, right? Like,
right,
just let you know your decision is
right.
actually have a huge impact on somebody's health or life.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
somebody's life. And just imagine if that person didn't have anyone to translate for them. And your language, English language is limited.
Hmm.
Uh, that person won't get care. And that happens a lot, right? To
Right.
to people in our community. And so that it really influenced me. I always felt like I wanted to learn my rights because growing up, there's a lot of authoritative figures telling me, "Oh no, you can't do this, you can't do that," and then it always kind of made me think like, well, is that even true?
That's pretty amazing that you actually have that impressive way, like when someone tells you something, you actually question it, right? Because most
Right.
most of us just kind of like, okay, that's what I was told. I follow the
Yeah.
rule. And
Yeah.
especially as a minority and as an immigrant, my family is like, I don't want to get in trouble. That's their mentality is, right? So they never question anything. It's definitely not a authoritative figure. So like that's amazing how you even when you were little growing up, like you were always asking, and then the fact that the question that you imposed it on that social worker in the healthcare, that was really it take bravery. It actually take guts because I don't think that many people would actually say that. I mean, we probably wonder if we were in there wondering. Some of them just
Right.
assume we don't even question. So yeah.
And I have to credit that to, again, my parents. I thank my mom for that because she's always standing up for what's right. And if there's something that's unfair, she would speak up. And I think growing up around that and not having much resources, you always had to fight for what you have. You have to negotiate.
Yeah.
And I just remember all that, my mom sharing with me stories. And so I think she worked in a sewing factory at some point, and they were probably paying, I don't know, 50 cents for a piece of garment, right? And they weren't going to pay my mom for all of the hard work, including all of the other workers. And so my mom went to talk to the manager and say, "Wait, are you saying that you're not going to pay us?" And so she was like, "I'm going to gather everyone here, and this is not okay." And really demanding fairness and treatment.
Yeah.
And so they ended up paying. And so that's my mom. I
Good
think
for her.
being influenced by my mom and my dad growing up is part of it's really navigating and trying to survive and trying to get what you feel like you deserve.
And that's the reason you kind of bring you to the politics side of it, your career.
So I think that it was sort of like instilled within me, right? Just sort
Mhm.
of fighting for my parents, fighting for my family, and all of those things growing up. I always wanted to learn my rights. So that's always what instilled within me and wanting to help people. And so when I went to college, I realized my other passion was Asian American studies.
Oh,
learning about uh, our Asian American identity and also learning about our history was very eye opening for me.
yeah, that
And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I saw that article that you did with Voyage LA. You were saying that how when you were reading about or find out about Vincent Chin in Michigan, I believe, and
yes.
that's what made you to get into the politic. How what happened? How that make you have that turning point, or like this is what I wanted to do? And I remember that story too, because yeah, it was really sad actually when I read it, when I heard about it when I was in college, because that was one of the story that share. But I wanted to know how that make you feel and how that make you to decide this is what I wanted to do, what you feel passionate about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a documentary, and I still remember like just watching it, and I just felt shocked. I was shocked. I mean, it took place in 1982. It's not that long ago, right?
Mm.
And I cried, of course, and it really impacted me. And I felt like, whoa, if that can happen to Vincent, that can happen to any of us. And I knew that I had to make a decision walking outside of the classroom, either go along with my life like any other classes, right? Like you just kind of move on. Oh yeah, that's a story. That's what you learn. You move on, graduate, and kind of move on with your life. But I made the decision. I was trying to figure out like, well, how can I participate? How can I get involved in the process so that we could protect our own rights and protect our own community? And so I start questioning the process, trying to figure out like how to navigate. I wasn't even a political science major.
Oh, you wasn't? I just
No,
assumed when you went to
no.
college. What major were you when you went to USC, right?
I went to Santa Cruz for two
Okay.
years,
Okay.
and that's when I started diving into the
That's a
Asian American
beautiful school, by the
sport.
way. Yes.
Beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful people. But it wasn't the campus for me. I felt
Really?
really isolated, like literally isolated. But what was so great about the campus is how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
But it also introduced me to Asian American studies. And then I got into Davis, and that's where I finished my last 2 years. So yeah, the documentary was very impactful, got my mind thinking of how I can get involved so I can have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
I would rather and want to be part of, part of that process so that we can decide for ourselves how our future will look like. And I started digging, and I met my mentor. He worked in the legislature. He was chief of staff to Judy Chu at the time. And he started talking about, all the amazing changes that they were able to bring. And so I got really curious and walk up to him and say, "Hey, I want to make a difference, but I don't know how to do it." And so, yeah, he gave me his card. I followed up with him, and I got an internship, and then started working my way up. And that's how I got into politics.
Wow. And then you also met your husband do career, right?
I also met my husband. Exactly. It was on a campaign, right? So
Yeah.
I met him on a campaign, working for, after I worked for Judy Chu, we all campaigned and trying to get Mike Ng elected. And so he was the campaign manager for Mike Ng. And so that's how we ended up meeting each other.
Amazing how like you made that choice and you put that career and then look everything follow after that, right? So
Yeah, you just got to follow your passion and interest. And that's, what they say, and you follow your passion and interest and everything will kind of fall into place.
and so right now there's you started a consulting group called Lam Consulting Group. What is that? And tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was very organic. And the focus of my work and passion is really developing and increasing more representation, having more Asian Americans and also underrepresented groups in leadership roles. I truly believe that having diversity and representation is really important, but not just diversity, right? It's like people with lived experiences. I think it just makes our world so much better.
And then what program do you provide, or is this a consulting? How your consulting is different from other? Like, how can we use your consulting, your skill to help people that really need your service, right? Especially in the politics side. And I think with your background, with your experience, you would be very helpful for many people who want to, I would say, going into the politics side and then want somebody to help them to sharpen their leadership role. But, I wanted to know more about your group.
Yeah. So I currently manage like 6 different, organizations, and each of them focus on different areas, from, you know, uh, youth development to music to electing more Asian Americans to elected office, public service, and representing women, LGBTQ.
Yay!
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so my work really focuses on like transforming culture and developing, providing the pipeline, and helping people see their full potential. One program I'm very proud of is the API's Mobilize program. So we have a Southern California program, East Bay, and I'm working to launch a Sacramento program. And the Signature program focuses on helping develop our Asian American youth, right? Learning our history, helping them build confidence, bringing in experts, but also leaders who look like them, who, can share lived experiences of how they grew up and leading up to the work that they do, and providing tips to them. So that's like one program. But the Sacramento program that we're working on is it's like a unity program focusing on Asian, Latino, Native American, and Black, bringing them all together. And there's a lot of work and talk about like solidarity. And so the idea came about to bring the groups together at a younger age, so then they can learn about each other's common history. They can learn and work together and build together. And, we're going to invite a lot of the speakers who are very successful at what they do, and those who grew up in the same area in Sacramento, to really inspire these kids to dream big, to let them know that they can all do it as well.
That is so exciting. And how can they apply for that? Or if they wanted to be in the program, and is there like an application process for people to apply for? Because this is amazing, and I love it. It's really helping the youth, right? To change what's going to happen. I think we really need to help the younger generation because they're the one who's going to lead the future. So how can I send them to you to the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the Sacramento program, we are starting to accept applications. And so we're focusing on working with 2 schools as our pilot, Luther Burbank High School and also Valley High School. I'm collaborating with a local city council member, Mai Vang, and she is a badass. She's doing a lot of work to change Sacramento for the better. And so we're collaborating on this. There is an application process. We're adopting like a recruitment model also to have the students recruiting their friends, recruiting those we are targeting. But we're also kind of opening it up to folks to get the word out as well.
Is there like a website that we can have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I can share it with you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to have that website on the box later on. So whoever, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to apply, they can take a look and then they can find the application. And you were saying that Sacramento is more the newer one, but before that is East Bay and Southern California, right? So far?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, we used to host the program at ELAC.
Oh.
I know you're right now, Alhambra. So
yeah, it's perfect. So close to me. Yeah.
Yes. But everything is pretty much virtual for now.
Okay. So right now it's all virtual. And is this space still available for the Southern California and East Bay, or is close off?
Oh, we just finished it. So we just finished and wrapped up the Southern California program, the East Bay program. So we'll start accepting application moving into 2023. So the Sacramento program will be a fall program. So that's the one we're going to kick off next month.
Okay. So when's the application? Is the application also open for now so they can look into it if they wanted to make it for the fall program, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
And then how you balance your life? I mean, you have a little girl, you also have a family, and you wanted to be involved in the politics, and then you have this amazing consulting firm which is doing a lot of great things for helping the younger generation. How you balance everything? And then that's the question I always ask when people like you, and then I'm always amazed how they handle all. And can you even have it all? I guess that was one of my question, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question. It's not easy, right? I always kind of think back to what Michelle Obama, our first lady, said. It's you can't have it all at one time, like everything, like all at one time. Something's got to give a little bit, and I think that's true. Something does have to kind of give a little bit depending on what it is. What's your priority, and do you have support or have finding support. I'm very lucky in that I have a very supportive family system. So, my mom, my dad,
Yeah.
sister, they're they're so helpful in that they help watch Vienna. I mean, from the day she was born, my mom came down to Southern California and she spent an entire month with us. And
Wow.
Chinese family tradition, right? You
Yeah.
have to take care of your body, especially the first
First
30 days.
month. Yeah.
Exactly. And she was there ever since the very beginning. And my husband's family is also very supportive when we're down in Southern California. So having a very supportive base is very important. A very supportive partner. And so it doesn't just fall on one person. So I'm very lucky and I have a very supportive partner, husband, and family. And because of that, I was able to work on my dissertation. When I was pregnant, finish my classes
I
and
know. That's
that.
another thing. That's what I'm like, how you do it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Making sure you have, a great supportive system if possible. And I also made a decision to take a quarter off.
Mm.
At the end of 2019, I had to make a decision like, okay, I'm going to go into labor in October. Am I going to do fall quarter or not? And a big part of me was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. I can do it. and so I was like, then I just kind of thought to myself, like, you know what? I'm going to take a quarter off. It's okay if I graduate a quarter later. And so it was one of the best things. One of
Mm.
the best things. I was so tired. Oh my gosh, I was so tired. It's just kind of, the feeding schedule and all of that and just wanting to have that bonding time.
Yeah.
And your body changes and you really go through I went through a lot, just even emotionally, and so just taking care of yourself, making time for yourself, it's also very important.
That's a great advice because I know for a lot of us, especially like business women, or career women, we feel like we wanted to do it all, right? And then most of us have this like persistency, competitive. It's like, oh, I got it. I can do this. But sometimes when you take a pause on something, it doesn't mean you're giving up your dream. It's actually helping you to achieve better or more. So thank you for giving us that example, the decision that you made on that, and then turned out to be the best decision you make, right? Because you were so tired, and
Yes.
and you get the opportunity to bond with your little one. So yeah, and taking care of yourself, and that's another thing. I think a lot of us forget how important we need to take care of ourselves first, because without taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else, right?
Absolutely.
So that's good. So what advice would you give to other young girls, like graduating from college or even in college and hear your story and want to get into politics? What would be the best way for them to get into that path, the career path? And what personal, I would say, like, what else do you need to have that in mind, the mindset that you should have beside the career path, right? So,
Yeah. So to get into politics, I would say that participate in an internship. I think getting those experiences are very important, like the entryway, whether it's an internship or volunteer, find a mentor. Look out for programs like API's Mobilize. I mean, it's a youth leadership program, but we do have a legislative internship component, and students can
perfect.
apply for that. And so, you just kind of dive yourself in there. And once you're in there, you'll meet people. You'll meet plenty of people who are very willing to help. You can ask questions. You could let them know you're very interested in diving deeper and to learn more about the public service, getting into politics. We have so many of our students who ended up majoring in poli sci, And one of them is actually running for office right now.
Oh, wow.
And he's running. Yes, yes, we are super proud of him, and he utilized so many of our the network that we have, resources. He would text me and say, "Hey, I'm in town. Can you meet up?" Or
Yeah.
"Hey, I want some advice." I would just say that don't be afraid to reach out for support, but look for one thing that really moves you, whatever that is. I would say go for it, and it could be as simple as looking up organizations and reaching out to them. I think that could also open doors. You don't necessarily need to have a contact already made. I think just being really relentless, I would say,
Yeah.
go for it. And even if you fail, pick yourself back up and keep trying,
Yeah.
and it will happen.
Is that what you're going to tell Vienna? This is how you're going to raise Vienna too. She's going to be a tough cookie. No one going to mess with her. Right? Because you know how you learn from your mom is
Yeah.
would you want your daughter to also follow your path or your husband's path getting into politics, or you two just gonna be like let her choose?
I think it's important to let them choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them choose whatever sparks her interest. I think the best thing that we can do is, allow her to have different experiences, and she will find her way. And I think that's the best thing in building confidence for her early on is so important. And she can take that with her anywhere she goes, and just dreaming big and trying things out. Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And having the courage to stand up for what's right is so important.
What do you do for fun? I mean, with all your busy schedule, like, obviously playing with your daughter, that's one. But what do you like to do, like your hobby for yourself,
Yeah, I love being outdoors. I love bike riding. I love traveling. So when we do travel, just love to hop on a bike and just kind of bike around to explore. And I love history. So just learning the history of the area is something I'm super interested in. And spending time with families is definitely always a good thing. And I got to treasure those moments, especially with Deanna. I feel like I still don't have enough time with her. I want to spend more time with her. But yeah, being outdoors is something I really enjoy, like whether it's like hiking or bike riding.
Is there any upcoming project that you're super excited about that you wanted to share with us so we can look out for?
I feel like I have just a lot of, very projects I'm working on. Well, one that I'm super excited is more on the academic side.
Uh-huh.
I'm working with a partner of mine to publish an article that's based on some of the findings I found in my dissertation on Asian American leadership and also like a dominant workplace culture. So, I think we're shooting to submit it at the end of the year, and fingers crossed, we'll see what happens.
Okay, we're looking forward to that. We would definitely wanted to read about it. So probably like next year we hopefully we could see it and read about it.
Hopefully, yes. Yes.
Okay. Wow, that's something exciting. Well, not that you didn't do anything else that was exciting. The program, that was amazing. And then I would definitely put it in the box because I really want to encourage people to apply for it. And even with one of the participant who went and now is running, and then that experience that he got from that, it was just great. And making contact, like you said, right? Volunteer, you got even provide internship with them. So even after the program, they can easily apply for an internship from there. It's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Annie, for being here today. It was such a lovely conversation with you. And, it was always like the show is always interview like amazing kicking ass women, right? And then so I noticed when I interview women, a lot of other women listener, they give us feedback. And then the common question is, which I just asked you earlier, how you do it all? And I really like your answer because we all want to do it all. We all wanted to have it all. And then, so I think because we had this idea of that, if you're successful, if you're really kick-ass women, you're supposed to have it all. So I think what you were saying from Michelle Obama was that you could have it all, but not at the same time, right? So then I think it gives us less pressure on ourselves and then really concentrate also on self love. So thank you for reminding us about that because I think a lot of women feel the pressure that they have to be perfect and they have to do it all. And your personal experience taking a pause, graduating a quarter later, which is nothing if you look back on it, it was the best decision that you make. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for hosting this conversation. I'm so glad we finally get to do
I
it.
know. And then I know you're a vegetarian, so I can wait to have you to come and I will take you to some really great vegetarian restaurant.
Wait, I'm a foodie.
Okay.
That's what I like for fun is looking for food and traveling for food. It's always a good time.
Perfect. Well, we love to have you. Thank you,
Awesome.
Annie. Okay.
Bye.